Hi everyone, this is Sujith, founder of Maatram Foundation. I'm super delighted to share my thoughts on this wonderful platform, TEDxIIMTrichy. It's such an honor to be here. And I was just thinking about what should I be speaking to you guys on, and an apt topic came to my mind, which is about the hero in you. If I have to ask you, who's your favorite hero? Who's your hero? I'm sure there'll be plethora of choices coming in. Some of you would name a film celebrity, some would be a sports star or a politician, your dad, your mom, and there's no right and wrong answer. But you know what? The real hero is the person who you see in the mirror every day. And one of the most common thing that I noticed when I look around people is there is one common streak in all of them. They have a burning desire to do something, make a difference, and that burning desire comes from that momentary spark. I had one such momentary spark way back in 2013. Starting an NGO was never in my wildest dreams. I want to be a career aspiring person and things like that. But that spark, when I met that young kid who was working as a domestic help in four houses, mother had passed away, father was an alcoholic. I desperately wanted to help her. And that resulted in starting this foundation. And what started with one kid, today we support about 1,597 students, right? Almost close to 1,600 students. But that spark, I don't think I would have even started an NGO like this. I had not met that wonderful child in a small city called Madurai in Tamil Nadu. Jayashree was one of my favorite students. And why this story is so very special is I don't think any child in my foundation had gone through the kind of hardship that this kid has gone through. She was just 15. Remember, she was just 15. Her elder sister was about to get married the next day. So you know how a marriage home would look like. A lot of festivities, families, relatives have all come home. So literally everybody was there. And just the previous day, her sister eloped with somebody else, and she didn't like the groom, and so she decided to walk away from the marriage without telling anybody. And this came as a huge shock to the family. She did not have a father; she was raised by a mother and grandparents. So everybody broke down. It was a society. I mean, it was a village, which is a caste-ridden village, and they were hurling abuses on the family, saying you didn't bring up your daughter well, etc., etc. And this young kid who was 15 walked up to her granddad and said, "Why are you crying?" And the granddad said, "Look, your sister has done this, and this is a huge cost to the family. You have an option to set it right." So Jayashree, in all innocence, asks the grandfather, "Okay, what do you want me to do?" And he says, "Why don't you get married?" And she says, "No, but I want to study." She just finished a 10th standard. She did outstandingly well in school, and she wanted to study further. And the grandfather said, "No worries, you just get married." She was getting married to her maternal uncle, which is very common in this part of the country. But here is a twist. I'm saying maternal uncle, it's not your mother's younger brother. In this case, it's a mother's elder brother. So the age difference between Jayashree and her spouse was almost 20-22. Without understanding the institution of marriage and with the hope that she will be able to go to school, Jayashree agrees to get married because she said, and all she said is, if I get married, the family will be happy, I will go ahead and do it. But on one condition, you will send me to school from the next day. They promised that, but unfortunately, after marriage, things turned topsy-turvy. She was stopped from school, and this kid had a kid in 1 year. By the time she was 16, Jayashree had a young kid, and the school remained a dream after that. She wanted to study. She tried all that she could. She even tried ending her life once or twice by trying to attempt to end her life, but nothing worked. And the family then got very jittery that this girl is very serious about her education and she had to get educated. So they tried getting admitted into different schools. None of the schools were willing to admit her because she got married and she has a kid, etc. Finally, one school decided to admit her. And I remember asking Jayashree, in all the struggle, what was the most difficult moment for you? And she asked me a question back. She said, "Sir, do you remember going to school? Your school days, do you remember? Can you visualize what were you carrying to your school?" I said, "Look, I was carrying my bag, shoulder bag, and I mean, my mom would give me a lunch bag and I would carry them." And she said, "I did all that. I also carried a bag, I also carried a lunch bag. But along with that, I also carried something else on my left hand." Said, "I used to take my daughter to school. I would leave her in the LKG, in the kindergarten section, And then I would go to 11th standard to pursue my education. And she said that was not easy because in a village, people didn't understand why the mother and daughter would come to the school, leave alone a village. Even I don't think we could imagine that in the city limits and so-called high-scale schools that we see. And I couldn't visualize what it would be for the young mother to drop her child in the same school, mother and child going to the same school to pursue their education. She did fantastically well. She scored about over 90% in her 12th standard. And then she came to Maatram. She pursued computer science engineering. And I won't forget the 4 years she was with the foundation. Because in that 4 years, I don't think she visited her daughter more than 6 times. She was staying in the hostel, and daughter was staying with her in-laws, which was almost 250 kilometers away. And I used to think probably it's a cost factor that is stopping her from visiting. Even during holidays, she will stay in the hostel, or she would come home and stay with us. And one day I asked her, I said, Jeshri, don't worry about money. You can always take a cab and go and see your daughter and come back. And that's when she told me, so it's not because of the money. I could still catch a train or a bus and go. But when I go and visit my daughter, I don't feel like coming back to the college. So all this, the entire struggle that I'm going through is to ensure that my daughter gets a good future. So that entire 4 years, she just visited her daughter only about 6 times. The final placement season started, and Jayashree had a very strange problem. And she was a class topper, while her classmates were all looking at the placement board to see which company they were placed. Jayashree had a very peculiar problem. She was checking which company is even shortlisting her on the eligibility criteria. But she was not getting shortlisted because of the age gap. She had a 4 year break in between, and because of which none of the top brands were hiring. And she was like still shocked. And that's when she came to me and asked me, "Sir, you are an head of HR of a company. You couldn't do anything about it. Why should I go to this? I've been good. I've been a good student. Can companies not make an exception?" And I really didn't have an answer. All that I could tell Jayashree is, Jayashree, you have fought so hard. You have fought so hard. You will get your moment. Just continue to focus hard. And after her college got over, she used to stay with us. And I remember one night when I walked into my guest bedroom, I saw her sitting there. It was almost 2:30 in the night, preparing for her internship, which she was giving an internship interview next day. And when I walked in there, I saw Jayashree so seriously preparing. I sat down with her and I asked her, "Now you tell me, Jayashree, why do you need this job so much?" Right? And she told me, "Sir, it's not just a job. Please understand what I've gone through in my young age, right? People have said there is no point in sending her to college. There is no, and if I don't get this job, I have to be back in the same village, and my daughter has no future. I need this job more than anybody else." And and I thought, this girl is it's so much of fun. Next day, she went for an internship, got selected. In 3 months, she got placed in one of the topmost product companies in Chennai, and she continues to work there. The daughter work goes to a lovely school today. Wherever I've spoken about the story, girls get hope. And there was an instant where even a girl stopped attempting to end her life after listening to Jayashree's story. And she sent me a testimonial. That's the kind of heroes that I work with. The last one, because I'm talking to IIM, a premier school in the country. This guy is from one of our first batch, second batch rather. I remember on it was a Sunday, mercury was reading at 43, 44 degrees Celsius in Chennai, and there was a 6'2" tall guy, heavily built guy walking in for his interview. A guy looks straight into my eyes and says, "Sir, I want to do civil engineering." And I asked him, "What's the reason?" He said, simple, my father is a mason, and I want to be one level above. I want to be in the same field and make my father proud. So while it sounds cliche, I said, "Okay, if that's what you want to do, take it up." So we admitted him in a civil engineering program. He was one of our best students. Sharath was his name, and Sharath was one of our best students. He excelled in Toastmasters, picked up public speaking skills, was very good with sports. He was in the field and track events, and he was shining like a star. So around the placement time, he decided that he will not sit through placements, and that was a shocker to me. So I asked Sharath, "You have to work because you need to take care of your family." And Sharath said, "Sir, I came across this book on structural engineering by a professor from IIT Madras, and if you permit me, I want to give it a shot. I want to get into IIT." Sharad prepared for his GATE exams and he started preparing very, very hard. He didn't want to sit through any job. So the reason was very clear. He said, I do not want to get into a job and lose my focus. I would be rather very happy to prepare. But then he needs to make both ends meet. So he has done many, many odd jobs. He has worked as a hotel server. He was very good with math, so he does home tuitions. In the evenings, he used to work as a bouncer in the pub. Sharad decided to give it his best, so he gave his entrance and he got to IIT Madras for a structural engineering program in a category called EWS, economically weaker section. We were all thrilled. We celebrated. We told the entire world. And Sharad joined the college of the course of his choice. And his story doesn't end here. Now, that's what heroes do. Heroes just don't take care of themselves and their families. Now, he came to us and he said, what can we give back? How can we give back? And Sharad, along with his team, started this project in Maatram Foundation called Karpom Karpipo. In Tamil, it's called Karpom Karpipo, which means let's teach, let's learn and let's teach. And today, what does this group do? He figured out that one of the commonality of all folks in Maatram Foundation is people who are all good with academics. And they don't have the money to spend, but they have the knowledge that they can always share with young students. So today, Karpom Karpipom is nothing but a parallel school for government school children. And remember, the last 2 years of pandemic might not have impacted you and me, who have the source of a digital gadget and Wi-Fi and studying in premier college, working in a premier organization. But life has not been the same for young kids or students studying in government schools and coming from underprivileged sections. So today, Sharad and his team, through their project, run this project called Karpom Karpipom, almost teaching 400 plus students on 14 different subjects digitally. So, which means every day classes starts at 4 o'clock in the morning. He starts with the group visualization exercise. He starts with brain yoga, some simple yoga and stretch exercises, and then the regular classes starts. And the idea is whether you have teachers or not, whether they are teaching you properly or not, whether your classes are happening during the pandemic, you will have continuous classes. And when these kids do well, they get directly recommended into our foundation for higher studies. And I thought, what a brilliant idea. And this is like executed like nobody's business. The government runs Illam Thedi Kalvi. There's a program which the Tamil Nadu government runs. This is almost similar, but happens digitally. Now, here I gave you a good number of stories, and all of them come from very, very trying circumstances. So I always look at it this way. Our life, when we lead our life, there are so many people who watch us. They get inspired by us. Now, for some of you, you might be wondering, who am I inspiring? You don't know your domestic help kid who comes to your house. They could inspire you. They could say, what does it take to get into a pre-career institution like IIM? Now, I have a simple closure note, an appeal that I want to make to you, friends. Life is just not about studying in great colleges, premier colleges, getting into some great brands, making money, getting married, having a swanky house and car and all. All that is important. It's all important. I also have dreamt about it. But if somebody told you that you can do community work, if somebody told you you can make a difference after retirement, don't believe in that, right? Start early. So if it's possible, if you're a college student, if you're a young working professional, start to volunteer in a cause of your choice. It could be anything. For me, it was education. For you, it could be anything else. It could be education, health, environment, women empowerment, or animal welfare, anything. Pick a cause of your choice and give time consistently. That's more important. It's not money. Please remember, Martin does not take donations. We don't take active public donation. You walk into our webpage, you will not find the donor link at all. We respect time. Time is more precious than your money. So as young students, if you're a young student and if you're watching this program, all that is required is, can you give time? And can you give time consistently? Very often when people listen to my talk or when they come to our website, they say, I want to help somebody and I will coach somebody as and when I get time. No, it doesn't work that. Even if you can give 1 hour, that 1 hour can be consistent on a Saturday between a particular period of time. You could make a difference because you are all bright students, you can make a difference. And as I told you, consistency and giving time is a key. Third, teach something to somebody. And if you don't know where to start, where to get that spark from within, look for your domestic help in your house and ask him or her, what does your child do? See if you can coach that child for better education, right? I think that's the best way to start. And I can tell you one thing for sure. This mobile instrument that we carry is more or less is a luxury for us. Yeah, this is an iPhone, and normally iPhone users will always upgrade to the next level, right? Now we don't need to have iPhone, but all of us have a mobile phone. It could be a Redmi, Samsung, or any of this. Now, in the last 2 years, this gadget has played such an important role. Has played such an important role in the field of digitizing education. I remember through this Amazon sales and all this stuff, I bought almost 680 plus mobiles for my students through multiple sources, so that without they need this instrument along with a good data plan for them to continue their classes. The simple way to make a difference is if you have a digital asset, try and see that I'm talking about not the new ones. Normally we go and exchange our mobile phones for the new ones. Instead of exchange, would you want to donate it to somebody else? Pick anybody, a local child in your own city, and see if you can give that asset to them. They can use it for the cause of it. And that holds good for any of your used laptops, anything for that matter. So charity does not require big money. Charity requires big heart. And I always believe the best way to boost our self-esteem is to help somebody who cannot repay it back to you. I think that's the best way to boost your self-esteem. Remember, heroes are ones, even in movies, heroes always go and help each other, right? Let's start by helping one person. Let's try and see if we can make a difference to one individual, and that will become a consistent habit, right? It is not the great minds. It's not about great education. It's not about working for top brands or working for MNCs, or it's not about studying in premier institutions, which makes us a better human being. It is empathy which makes you a better human being. So I sincerely pledge you to see if you can do your bit of serving the community in little ways, as I called out, and you will see that we can make a beautiful India. We can make this world a better place. Thank you very much for your patient listening. It was such an honor speaking to you guys. I wish you good luck with God's will. Thank you.